the professionalism of very able people in the teaching profession. And of course, there has to be some. We want certain things from our education system. We want children to be able to read and write, and we want them to have a strong general knowledge. But the more prescriptive you are, the less professional autonomy you are unleashing. And the rise in standards that we've seen since 2010 are multifaceted. But one of them, I believe, is that we are, encouraging that professional autonomy, and that is also through the curriculum, but it's also through the academies program, free schools program, and so it's always a kind of reluctance to pile on more requirements onto schools. I mean, we do it. I have to say, we've required schools to teach the RSHE curriculum, and that applies to academies and it applies to schools. We've the requirement for universal infant free school meals that applies to maintained schools and it applies to academies. So we have, on occasion, breached that principle. And if you look at the primary curriculum, we require phonics to be taught, and so on. But every time you do that, you chip away at that professional autonomy. And I think that certainly a subject like history, which is so all-encompassing, we have set those requirements that I've set out, what is in Key Stage 3 and so on, that does require schools to teach Britain's colonial history. And even outside those specific requirements, there's scope for teachers to teach the kind of curriculum that the young people that are signing your petition want to see taught in their school. So I think that's a principle that we're kind of loath to breach on too many occasions in our education, because the danger is that it does detract from that professional autonomy, and it's that professional autonomy that is driving up standards.
I think many people watching this session will be very disappointed by the answers that you've given today, and feel that it doesn't recognise, that the government doesn't recognise the level of dissatisfaction that there is with the current curriculum and how it's being taught. And I know the Minister's talked a lot about not being prescriptive and allowing that freedom of choice. But the evidence that we've seen and the questions that have been put to you today have really presented that sometimes it doesn't come down to a choice for schools. Sometimes they just don't have the resources, and they don't have the room within the curriculum to insert diversity within it themselves, even though they would want to. So I guess, what would you say to those that say that the government is prescriptive where it has prioritised, and that therefore this just isn't a priority for the government?
I wouldn't agree with that. When it comes to the curriculum, what we're trying to do is to encourage a greater focus on it and to make sure that it is knowledge rich. Now, if you have a knowledge rich curriculum, you can bring in a lot more material. You can cover greater, in history, you can cover greater periods, you can cover a greater geographical spread. And I hark back again to go on to the core knowledge curriculum that is, vast. If you look at it,